about me. So I always said that Chris Brown stole one of my dances. That was like a
Which
thing. So here's
I
so
gotta
here's the
know
thing.
which dance is
I
this?
really thought that Chris Brown stole my dance. I think I was like 16. I was in high school. Me and my friend Dominique, her name is Dominique Reddy. I'm never gonna forget this. We were on this step team called Columbia's Finest in Columbia, South Carolina,
Mm.
and I made up this dance to Chris when Chris Brown first came out. Is your man on the floor? If he
Yeah,
ain't right. So we did this
yeah,
step
yeah.
show where Chris Brown was performing. I think it was at like LR High School or some place like that in Columbia.
Laura Richland, shout out Laura Richland.
And Chris Brown was there. And I remember, like, the only memory I have is afterwards being like, we gotta go show Chris Brown the dance. We gotta show him our dance to his song. So
Yeah,
he performed, we stepped. Afterwards, we ran up to Chris Brown. We were like, Chris Brown, we gotta dance to your song. Can we show you the dance to your song? I literally remember, just like I just did, I sang the song as it's your man on the floor.
right,
We like did the dance. I remember him
right.
watching him. And then like a couple of weeks later, he was on Soul Train. And I
Uh huh.
remember watching him be like, oh my God, come on, Chris Brown's on Soul Train. And he did this move. Now, mind you, maybe I just had like choreographer brain and it was just the movement went to the song. But I
Right.
had let me see if you can run it, girl. Indeed, I
Yeah.
can run it.
Oh
And I'm
yeah,
watching
yeah.
and I'm like, oh, Mom, that's my dance. Chris Brown stole my dance. He stole my
For sure. About to start. About to start it up. All right, so we recording, we rolling. Welcome back, world. You're listening to the City of Savages podcast, and it's your boy Cam.
It's your boy Greg. What it do?
And we are here today with a special, very special guest. Let me do a quick introduction of our guest today. So, Chantal, more technical difficulties here. Chantal has been blessed to work in a variety of acting mediums, including theater, film, TV, industrials, and commercials. In 2014, she made her off Broadway debut in the NAACP award winning production of The Girls of Summer, written by Leon Gray. Hope I said that right.
dance. Mm-hmm.
She has also been featured in several commercial campaigns, including Burger King, Air Fast Tickets, and Assurance Wireless. In 2015, she added writer and producer to her resume after she co-wrote and co-produced an original 5-episode comedic series, The Chantal Show. She has appeared on multiple television shows, including USA's Mr. Robot, which is one of my favorite shows, TV Land's Younger and TV One's Born Again Virgin. In 2016, she graced the small screen once again on an episode of Blue Bloods on CBS. Check out www.chantalmaurice.com for updates and more information. So, welcome, Chantal. Thank you for joining
Yes,
us.
yes, yes, yes. Welcome.
Hey guys, thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So, we definitely got to open it up, just learning more about your journey. So, talk a little bit about your journey and how you got into acting.
Yeah. So number one, that bio made me feel really old. I'm listening to it. I'm like, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Like it just made me feel old. But yeah, no, thank you guys so much for having me, Cam. I thank you so much for saying my name right. Nobody can ever say Chantal for some strange reason. I don't know why you can't say my name, but I just want to thank you for saying my name right. I didn't even have to say like, hey, this is how you pronounce it. Anyways, so thank you for that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm an actor. After that bio, I have since, my most recent credit was Holiday Heartbreak, a BET Christmas movie that aired in December of 2020, starring Lisa Ray, AJ Johnson, Michael Collier, Country Wayne, and B. Simone, just to name a few.
Oh,
Um, and yes, I'm an actor, a dancer, an artist. Ever since I was younger, that's all that I thought about, dreamed about, wanted to pursue. Both dancing and acting. Acting, there was something about acting that came, I don't want to say easier, but because I was trained, I started taking classes in acting when I was around 10. I started
Mm.
in theater. In high school, I did a performing arts magnet program, and then in college, I majored in theater. So there was that
Okay.
foundation that made me feel really secure in acting. I didn't have that same foundation in dance. I wasn't
Mm,
trained as a dancer. I just liked to dance.
yeah.
So I'm
Right.
very like analytical person. So because I had the training in acting, I felt more comfortable and confident pursuing it. Whereas dancing, after high school, it was kind of like I felt like that dream kind of was dead, at least for me.
Hmm.
So yeah, I started acting in middle school, high school, college. Did some conservatory training. After college, I moved to New York City. That's where I started acting in television. I also did like off Broadway work, as you mentioned, The Girls of Summer, written by Leon Gray. Um,
Yeah.
so in my New York, that's where I started. That's where I learned about the business of acting because
Yeah.
nobody
Hmm.
teaches you that. You don't learn that in school. You don't learn that in college. A working actor has to teach you the business of acting.
Yeah.
So I, New York was where I fell flat on my face. New York was where I mean, when I say, I don't even know if struggle is the word. Like New York is where I almost suffocated
Mm,
because it
It
was
was like
such
a
a
different, yeah,
it
like a
was it,
reality.
it was a reality check, but also it was one of those things where I realized I knew that I was talented. I always knew that I was talented, and so I just
Right.
assumed that being talented would get me where I needed to go.
oh,
And living in New York is not an easy task. Like it's easy if
Hmm.
you're into like tech, if you're working at a tech company or a startup, if you're doing business or finance or corporate. But as an artist, for me, New York was tough because it was like, yes,
everybody's an artist in New York.
I booked a TV show. I got, an under five, which is, we call under fives like it's like a it's a under five, but it's a co-star role, meaning like you're only in one episode. Typically, you're only in one scene. You make
Hmm.
about $1,000 for that
Mm,
day, um, which was great.
yeah.
Hmm.
But I was struggling. It was tough. But New York taught me so much. Like I learned so much. I booked Mr. Robot. I booked Blue Bloods. I booked The Blacklist. I booked Younger. I booked television work in New York City. But
Mm,
on the other side, what people didn't see was just that I was suffocating and drowning. It was
mm,
extremely tough, but I wouldn't trade that experience for the world because what I
right.
learned in New York, I can take it anywhere and dominate. And that's what I'm doing now.
Okay. That's what's
That's
up.
that's dope, man. Yeah, thank you for giving us that. So I'm glad that you said that though, because now we can talk about like, being in New York. And so now you're living in Atlanta, right?
Yes.
And so talk about that, like, how was that transition for you and what made you decide to ultimately make that move from New York City to ATL?
So you guys probably don't have enough time for me to really explain what happened, but I'll try to give you the Cliff Notes version of it. So I got into a really, really bad car accident in Barbados in
Oh
2018.
wow.
Yeah, that literally that moment was the shift. So before that, I had, I thought about it and it was just like, Atlanta was just there were so many things happening, but for some reason my ego was telling me that if I left New York, that meant that I failed or
Mm,
I couldn't handle New York or and my mom's from New York. I was born in Brooklyn like so I love New York. Like, I love New York.
mm,
So there was a block that a subconscious block, not even subconscious, it was pretty conscious, a block that I created where it was like, I mean, I was raised in South Carolina. I went to college in South Carolina. I'm not going to Atlanta. I'm not doing that. That means that
Right.
I failed. Like
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm above Atlanta. Like literally that's what was
Mm,
in my brain. And it's
Right.
so interesting how we get so out of alignment with what God or the universe or whatever you believe has for us. It's like
right.
we get
Very true.
so like wrapped up in ego And so, anyways, like I said, I'm gonna try to give you the cliff notes, but I have been talking about Atlanta, and I actually had an agent. I had representation in Atlanta because I'm like I'm from South Carolina. I can work as a local hire, which is what we say in the industry is like if I book a job in Atlanta, it means that I'll have a place to stay. I can get to
Mm,
set. You don't have to put me up. So I was
yeah.
already doing that, but for some reason I just wouldn't make the move. I was like, nah, like I'm gonna stay in New York. Went
Mm.
to Barbados for crop over, which is their carnival.
Oh yeah.
And I got into a really, really bad car accident. And before the car accident, I was broker than broke. Like it wasn't even funny. Like to be honest, the relationship that I was in ended probably because I was so broke. Like I just didn't have any money. Like it
Mm.
was horrible. But I mean, it's fine. Like I'm here now. Like I made it past that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Anyways, so the accident really messed me up. Like not me physically, but my high school best friend broke her femur bone and like couldn't get out of the car
Hey.
and needed like an emergency surgery, and we couldn't get an emergency surgery because there wasn't a doctor on the island who can perform this surgery that she needed.
Wow.
She had to
Wow.
wait like 4 days. She had to raise like $5,000 to be accepted by a private hospital. my
Wow.
my New York best friend broke her clavicle and her shoulder bone, and I mean it was, when I tell you it was like this horrific experience, it was so bad. Then it was
Yeah.
like because we were Americans, they tried to get money out of us. So like the
Yeah.
court system was like, you gotta pay us this money before we let you leave the island. We're gonna keep you capped. Like
Wow.
when I tell
That's
you it was
crazy.
a crazy story, it was so
Yeah.
crazy. So, anyways, finally got out of there, went back home to South Carolina because I needed to recover like emotionally and physically.
Mm-hmm.
And while I was at my mom's house, I was so worried because I didn't have money to pay rent. Like I still had to pay my roommate in New York rent, and I didn't have the money. And so a residual check came from Blue Bloods. Now, if you work on TV, whether you have one line or you're in every episode, network TV pays the best residuals. Like those checks are amazing. So anyways, right as I was about to text my old roommate in New York to be like, "Hey, I need some time to pay this bill because I wasn't working. I didn't have any money. I was in South Carolina like just sitting at my mom's house healing and recovering from this accident."
Right. Right.
Residual check, it pays the rent. So I'm like, okay, great.
That's
I was
awesome.
able to send the rent. The second month comes, I'm still in South Carolina, and I'm like, here we go again. Another residual check came and it paid the rent. And
Nice.
so during this process, I was like, all right, I got to go back to New York and I got to like, start back working. I got to get like, it was just all these things. And my mom kept saying, well, why don't you just move to Atlanta? And I remember being so mad at her. My wrist was like kind of broken. And I had this brace on my wrist. And I just remember like taking my hands and like slamming on the table and be like, you don't understand. I can't move to Atlanta. Like with the like broken wrist. So
Right.
dramatic, so
Right.
ridiculous, so unnecessary. And she just was like, okay, I just thought I'd say that. Anywho, I'm gonna try to really make this quick, so I don't want to milk it. But so my mom's
Take your
husband is
time,
a
man.
pastor. My stepdad is a pastor, and so me being there, I'm just there, not doing anything, and so he was going to some pastoral something, right? And I'm like, all right, fine, I'll come. I'm not doing nothing. I'll be there. And so we go to this event, and the guest speaker is, I guess he's a pastor. He was from Atlanta, and I was like, okay, great, whatever, I don't care. And his message, I don't remember exactly what the title of the sermon was, but it pretty much was like, you gotta move.
Mm.
I said, now who done told this man my business? Telling him he over here telling me that I gotta move. I was so upset. So literally, like my mom and my stepdad were like looking, kind of like trying to look at me, but not looking at me. Like, do you hear what he's saying? Like, you gotta move. And I'm like, all right. So I hear that. During this time, like once I got to South Carolina, I reached out to my agent and I said, hey, I'm in South Carolina. So if you want to submit me for any, television projects in Atlanta, I can get there faster. Just letting her know that. And a couple of auditions came. I still had kind of like a black eye, but I like covered it with makeup, and I was like
Mm.
having my mom help me with these auditions. They were horrible. Like she was horrible. We were filming them at like a church. It was just bad. But I was like, hey, I gotta do what I gotta do.
Right.
So I auditioned for Dynasty. and my mom helped me. I had to wear my mom's clothes. Like I literally didn't have clothes. Like
Mm,
I had the clothes from Barbados, and I just to reiterate, I went for Carnival, so
right.
my
Right,
clothes
right.
weren't really there. Like I didn't really have clothes. So I went literally I flew back to New York and I was in such distress that my mom booked me a ticket like that next morning I flew to South Carolina. So I was in South Carolina with like Barbados clothes. So in my auditions I'm like wearing my mom's clothes. It was a
Mm,
mess. Anyways, after that church service, I get this like maybe 2 weeks later, I get this email from my agent in Atlanta like trying to reach you, what can't reach you. So I changed my number. I changed my number because I had a stalker. I had a
mm,
stalker ever since college.
Wow.
She still has my number. She still got my new number, but I literally changed my phone number for one person,
mm.
and to this day they have the new number. So it really didn't matter. But
That's
my agent
wild.
my agent still had my old phone number. So
Okay.
I called my agent back and I'm like, hey, what's going on? She's like, I've been leaving you messages on my old 803 number. And
Yeah.
she's like, I've been
Right.
leaving you all these messages. You booked Dynasty. And I was like, now I had an audition for the show in like 2 weeks. And I was just like, I don't understand. She was like, yeah, you auditioned weeks ago. They used that audition for a new role and you booked the role. Now, let me go
Mm,
back a little bit. Before that,
Wow.
I said, okay, after the church service, I said, God, if you want me to move to Atlanta, you need to make it real clear. Like,
yeah.
make it extremely clear so that I can't second guess. And
Right.
then
Yeah.
this
Right.
happens with the agent. So I'm like, okay, God, I see you. Okay, I booked the TV role. Like I'm about to, it's good. So,
Right.
but
Right.
remember, I didn't audition for this, so I don't even know what the role is. So I'm like,
Mm.
okay, I'm like, send me the script. Like, let me see the script. What's up?
Right.
Get that script. It was 2 lines. I about knocked some stuff over. I said, now that's not the sign that I asked you for, Lord. Because
Right.
if I needed 2 lines, I could have booked 2 lines in New York. I was mad. I was
Mm.
so mad. I was like, 2 lines. See,
Right.
that's why I want to move to Atlanta because da da da. Like literally, I was so upset.
Also, on some Soldier Boy, 2 lines.
I was so
Right.
mad. I was like, because I got excited. I was like, oh, I booked.
Right.
I asked
Yeah.
for a
Yeah.
sign, and literally the next day I get this 2 lines, and I'm like,
Mm.
all right, cool. All right, cool. So I have a friend. We met in New York. She at that time lived in Atlanta, and had room. Like, so was able to go down there. I filmed the episode. Had an attitude the whole time. I mean, like, my mom's like, hey, how's it going? I'm like, you know what? If this was New York, it wouldn't have been like this. They didn't even highlight where I needed to sign my paperwork. That like I was just mad.
Oh
Like
man.
Yeah.
so mad for no reason. Anyways, I'm making the story longer than it needs to be. So that happened. And then I said, okay, you know what? I think I should make this move. My plan was to go back to New York because again, all my stuff, I had to move. So it's like, I'll go back
Mhm.
to New York and work for a month or like 2 months, and then I'll move all my stuff. And the friend, she had a room. She like literally had a room that she was Airbnb in. She was like, you can pay me rent and stay here. The room already had furniture in it. I mean, it was like freaking perfect. Like
Yeah.
it was
Right.
amazing. So literally that is why I moved. It wasn't because I was like, ooh, I want to try Atlanta. It was literally like I was down at my
Circumstances.
very, very last,
Mhm.
and I said, okay. Like the signs were there to move, but my ego
Right.
kept telling me that, like, if
Mm.
you leave New York and you go to Atlanta, people are gonna think that you failed. People are gonna think that you're a has. Like that's literally all that was in my brain. So
Mm.
God
Got you.
had to literally break me down to where I had nothing, and the only I could only rely on Him. And then I said, okay, let me move. And ever since I moved, my life has changed.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Oh, that's amazing.
It's it's
Go
funny
ahead, Kim.
that you thought that though, because Atlanta is like a hub for acting now, right? Like
Yeah.
it,
Atlanta it is, but there's that New York actor in me. You
yeah,
know what I mean? Where
Yeah.
it's just like, but I'm in New York. Like
yeah, yeah.
I'm here. But it's it's important to just be in alignment because sometimes I feel like, at least speaking for myself, I can get so caught up with my own vision or my own goals that I'm not open to like, what is my purpose?
Hmm.
What am I supposed
Yeah.
to be doing?
Right.
And Atlanta was a being here in Atlanta was able to show me like this is your purpose. And it had been
Mm.
something that I was running from for so long.
Right.
You know, I
That's
worked at an
good.
acting studio in New York for a couple of years, TVI Actor Studio, and that's where I learned the business of acting. And when I got there, like they made me a career consultant, and I was like, I don't have any TV credits, like I can't help actors. But my manager at the time, who's a friend, when you read my bio, we did the Chantal show together. His name is Sean, and he
Mhm.
said, "There's something about the way you can connect to people that they will listen to you. You don't have to have
Yeah.
acting credits." And
Yeah.
so a part of my purpose is teaching and is
Yeah.
coaching other people, but I didn't want to
Yeah.
do that. I ran from
Mhm.
that because I felt like none of the other actors that I look up to coach and teach people. Like they say people
Right.
can't do teach. I don't want to
Right.
be a coach. I don't want to be a teacher. So I ran from it from so long, but then when I moved to Atlanta, it literally opened up a space where it was like, no, you're supposed to be coaching and helping other people. Like that's a
Mhm.
part of your purpose.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
That's
I could
dope.
see that. I could see that in you because you have like that charisma that somebody would want in their teacher. You know what I'm saying? Like you just have that
Facts.
presence about you that just says like, yo, I can help you. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So yeah, that's
And,
interesting.
and you've been like that since college, man, since we known you, honestly. So, just to see it come to fruition now is real dope. Um, and I'm glad you touched on that because we see that you are the CEO of CoStar Coaching. Is
yes,
that right?
yes.
And so you have pretty much been coaching since you moved to Atlanta, or like,
So I actually started co-star coaching in New York.
okay,
And literally it came as a joke back to Sean from the Chantal show. He like was kind of throwing shade at me and he called me the co-star queen. Like I said, co-stars are those roles where you're on a TV show, but it's typically like one scene, your character doesn't come back. You could be the waitress
Mm,
saying like, here's your drink or something like that. And I was
yeah.
right,
those were the roles that I was booking, which in New York, those roles are hard to book. Like
hmm,
it's not easy to book those.
Hmm.
Um,
okay,
so he called me the co-star queen because I was booking all, I was still booking TV, I was still making money. And
right,
so I literally just people would reach out to me to be like, "Hey, could you just help me with this audition?" And I was just like,
Mm,
I guess, sure." So I was like, "All right." I had this whole idea for co-star coaching, but it just never went anywhere. And I had made like
hmm,
a flyer. I had coached a couple of clients. One of my clients booked her first TV audition after I like worked, like we met in like a library and I like worked with her. It was the weirdest thing, but
mm,
it just never went anywhere. So when I moved here, when I moved to Atlanta, it literally the business
hmm,
was it was like there were people around me that like were bringing the business out of me. So I
gotcha.
remember
gotcha,
I had when I moved here because before I got here, I actually Dynasty called me back for a couple of more episodes. I was a maid in Dynasty, like I was like had one or two lines, but like I told you before, like it pays some good money. And then I booked
yeah,
another show called The Act. So I came to Atlanta with like some money, and then I
Okay.
remember like as I was like a couple of months into my journey in Atlanta, I didn't have like this was my first time not having a job, and I was like, "Whoa, this is weird. Like I'm just I'm just being an artist every day. Like this is strange."
Yeah.
And so
yeah,
once that money started to run out, I remember calling like one of my really really good friends. He and I have like a long history together. And I was like, I think I need to get a job. And he was like, yeah, you probably do need to get a job. And like right in that moment, a friend, like I said, the place that I was living in was almost like an artist hub.
hmm,
This actor that I
Mm,
moved in with, it was like an artist hub. So there were all these different people and energies coming out of the apartment. And somebody came in and they did like African storytelling to kids,
mm,
and he literally walked in this after I got off the phone, like with my longtime friend, and he was like, do you want to be a part of my storytelling gigs? And like you could teach the kids African dance? And I was like, yeah, is that a thing? Like,
yeah,
can I do
yeah,
that?
right,
yeah.
So I'm making money, like, and again, like I was just about to get on Indeed and start looking for a job. And so it was like that literally catapulted like co-star coaching. And then the friend that
Mm,
I live with, she had a big thing in here in Atlanta called Screening Room ATL, where she like screened projects and screened films, and she put my flyer in front of all of her audience members. And so like people were coming to me like, hey, can I have a career consultation? Hey, can you coach me on this audition? And it literally just grew and grew and grew to the point where I was like, okay, I have a studio. Really, COVID was what like made
Mm,
made me
Okay.
grow.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Once COVID happened, I started this thing called I Got Five on it because I was like, why not? We're all just there's no acting happening, and so I was like, I got five on it. It's a 5 day acting class for $5, which was don't ever do that. That was the worst thing. That was but it was $5 for 5 days, and literally, I was working with actors in Chicago, LA, New York, because it's $5, right?
yeah,
And
Right.
that is what really grew my business because there were so many people that knew me and they were like, "Oh my gosh, she's so great!" But then there are people like, "I just took this 5 day acting class for $5, and it was freaking amazing."
yeah,
So Co-Star Coaching is a resource hub for actors. I do audition coaching, career consultations, private coaching, self-tapes. I've also done virtual classes. I've had industry guests in my virtual classes.
mm,
George Pierre, he's a casting director for BET and TV One. He cast Tales. He cast American Soul. I had him back in last July.
mm,
I've
Yeah.
had casting directors and managers. So I literally now have an acting studio, but I like to call it a resource hub because
mm,
it was what I would have wanted when I was in New York and when I was like auditioning and still booking. I wanted advice from somebody who had experience and I couldn't find that. So
mm,
that's what co-star coaching is, where I'm able to help coach other people. I don't know it all. I don't claim to know it all, but I do know how to book off of self-tape auditions. I know how to book television
yeah,
jobs. So I'm able to help my clients and be empowered and really produce like what I like to call producer worthy audition tapes. So audition tapes
yeah,
that producers are going to see and say, this person did a great fucking job. You may or may not be right for the role, but that's out of your control. So my job as an
right,
acting coach is to get my actors and my clients to feel empowered, to know what it
mm,
is they're doing, the skills to be top notch, and for them to book the room. So
okay,
that's what co-star coaching is.
I
that's
mean,
really
I would
dope.
say you're an expert and you're right for that. So props to you for that. And I'm glad you guys are okay from the accident that happened and
Yeah,
everything. But
definitely.
the way you broke everything down and your story, your testimony from New York to Atlanta, it was just God revealing himself and putting you in a place where you could thrive
Yeah,
and really just, begin to build your brand and build your business and begin to kind of flourish in what you're doing. It was meant for you to move. I think that's real dope, man, for real.
yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes we gotta be broken down to be rebuilt, right?
Facts.
And that can come in a physical breaking, but
Mhm.
it's really meant to be that mental breaking for you. You know what I mean? So things always happen for a reason. It's like they say it was written. So whatever God or the universe had to do to get you to Atlanta, it seems like that's what had to happen.
Whew, and they had to do a lot. I mean, it was horrific.
you
That
know,
accident was on the Barbados news in the newspaper. I mean, it was pretty bad. But you're
wow.
absolutely correct. You're
Yeah.
absolutely correct.
I remember when we came up to New York a few years ago and visited, and I got to see you and talk to you for a little bit. And I remember asking you if you was gonna stay in New York, if you was gonna move somewhere. And I know you was talking. You was kind of like, I really like New York, but I've been thinking about LA. We talked about Atlanta a little bit, but I think I'm gonna stay in New York. I don't know. I want to move right here.
Nothing was gonna take me from New York. I,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was
Yeah.
I was good, but it
So
was ego. But I,
yeah,
I do love the place, and also I'm like grateful that I got out of there before COVID because
yeah.
Right. Right.
usually,
So is your I got five on it and you're coaching. I'm assuming, especially since COVID, you've been doing all of this virtually online.
yes. So the I got five on it was like right in the heat of the quarantine.
Yeah.
I no longer do that. I will never do that again.
Okay.
It was a lot of work, but I
I
met
bet.
some amazing people, and some of those people I still coach to today.
Okay.
There, one young lady who took the class. I literally worked with her yesterday. She had an audition for a major TV show. I'll say that on a major network. So
Okay.
it allowed me to meet a lot of people. But yes, so like I said, I do a lot of in person. So like right now, I'm in my studio.
Yeah.
So if actors, my clients, when they get auditions, they come to me. I coach them on the material. I also have the equipment to put them on tape. So I record the
Yeah.
audition, I
Okay.
edit the audition, and then I send it to them. So I do virtual coachings, I do in
Mm.
person coachings, career consultations, and like group classes. I haven't done a
Right.
group class since December, but I am planning to do another one. So typically with my group classes, I have anywhere from 8 to 12 students, and I like to bring on some type of an industry guest, whether it's a casting director or an agent or a manager, to give my students some feedback because I think it's important for them to hear my 2 cents, but then it's also important for them to hear somebody who's in the industry, whether it be a talent agent, a manager, or a casting director.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I can tell that you're very passionate about this. Do you think that this is a direction that you're gonna go and kind of focus on this, or are you still want to be more on the acting side, or are you trying to do both? What's
Well, I do both. So I like to say that, like, I think there's a, I think when people think of actors, they typically think of celebrities.
Yeah,
And there are a lot
Hmm.
of actors who are not celebrities and who are not household names, but they're working actors. So, like,
right.
I'm a working actor. That's where my income comes from. And in addition to that, I'm also coaching. So if I'm not
Okay.
booked on something, now I'm able to be a vessel and to help other people. So that's
Yeah,
what
I
I
like that.
fought against for so long because for so long I was like, I don't want to be an acting coach. Like, that's whack. Like, who does that?
Mm,
But it's also because with the successful actors, you don't really hear about what else they do.
yeah,
Like when you
that's
think
true.
Hmm.
about iconic
Right.
shows, when you think about
Right.
iconic sitcoms, when you think about movies, you see these people in these roles, and you just think that, but we don't. And that's the thing. Like nobody has ever been not no one, but a lot many people have not been vocal. Where it's like I'm a successful actor, I'm a series regular on this show, and I have another source of income. And
Right,
because
Hmm.
you never know when that booking's gonna come. If you can book, I can book a pilot and it can not get picked up. Like
right.
you gotta have multiple. Like there has to be multiple sources of income as an artist, as a creative.
Yeah,
So it took me a long time to realize that a part of my purpose is a vessel of inspiration and motivation for others. So as
mm,
long as that's still there, I'm going to continue to do it until the day where there comes a shift and where I'm supposed to focus on something else. I will, but at the same time, I control my calendar. So when
right.
I get an
Right.
audition, I can block my calendar off and focus on my audition. When I book a role, like I was in North Carolina filming a show called Hightown in January or no February or
Mm,
January, the end of January, my calendar was booked off, but I
mm,
was able to coach
Right.
clients virtually. So
right.
it's one of those things where it's like it's my business, so I control when I am available to these actors. So if I have
Yeah,
nothing
that's
going
dope.
on, if I'm not booked on something, then hey, get me while you got me.
Yeah, yeah,
And when
Yeah.
things change, then they're gonna change, and then I'll adapt at that time.
yeah.
That's
That's
dope
that's good.
because
That's so smart.
yeah, because like I mean, if you have the opportunity to do both, then why not? You know what I mean? Especially if you're able to empower. I know you were kind of talking about the five class what 5 days for
I
five
got
bucks.
five
Five
on.
dot. I got
Yeah,
five
yeah.
on it.
It's like
I know they
um
load you for
it,
that.
Woo!
exactly. But you know what? In the long term, you think about your clientele and empowering your clients, and what that's going to do is just build because what they're going to do is spread the word. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
eventually, that's just going
great
to keep
marketing.
great marketing, and then $5 at first, but it's just going to continue to build the money. The
Exactly.
people always say the money's going to come when you show your passion and you show your strength in something. The money will eventually come. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's not the biggest thing. But I do want to go back to. I know we talked about you being a coach and everything like that, but let's talk about some of these roles that you've been in. You know what I'm saying? We saw you do your thing. I specifically saw you do your thing a couple episodes for Teenage Bounty Hunters as Cherry,
Yes.
working alongside my man Kadeem Hardison. Also saw you for Queen Sugar as Dr. Katrina Randall, working alongside like Kofi and Bianca Lawson. Shout out to both of them. But what has it been like with these roles and working with such talented people, man? What's that been like?
I will say that I think to this day, Cherry Grigio is my favorite character. Um,
Really?
Lee Hardison is amazing.
Yeah.
You in this business, you like I said, there are like tiers to it, and you can work with a celebrity or somebody like a Kadeem, and they can not speak to you, or they could not.
Mm.
Kadeem wasn't like that. Like we ran lines between takes. Like he was so warm. We would literally just sit and he would tell me stories about a different world and about Love Is and all these shows that he was on, and
That's
Yeah.
dope.
that's what makes it so special and
Yeah.
important. Cherry Grigio was such a great character. It was a very bittersweet because Teenage Bounty Hunters did not get renewed.
Oh man.
Which for me, like I never like I'm always usually in one episode. That was a guest star role. Like I said, I usually do. My resume is full of like a lot of co-stars, but Cherry Grigio on Teenage Bounty Hunters was I think my first guest star, or maybe my second. But after the news came that the show didn't get renewed, the showrunner actually reached out to me on Instagram and sent me a DM, and she said, she was like, I didn't know if I should tell you this, but Kadeem and the other lead actresses told me that I should. She was like, had we gotten a season 2, Cherry Grigio was going to be Kadeem's love interest.
Oh
And
Oh
man.
we're
wow.
going to see that she was working as a stripper to pay, I think it was like to pay student loans, or like, and then her brother was in prison, and a part of her mission was to show how unfair the prison system is to specifically to black men.
Mm.
And when
Okay.
I heard when she sent me that message, I was like, I was glad that I got it, but it made my heart break because it's one of those things where it's like you're always waiting for that bigger opportunity.
Right. Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even know that they were going to bring me back and that I was going to be a part of this big storyline. But
Yeah.
then the show didn't get renewed. So
Right.
again, that
Yeah.
goes back to you never know in this business.
Yeah.
There's
Right.
so many things that are not in your control. So that's why I said I really want to hone in on focus on the things that are in my control, and that's empowering other actors. Because when the right opportunity comes, it's not going to be able to miss me.
Yeah.
Recently I've been watching the Aretha Franklin Genius Project, and when that show when they first started auditioning, I had an audition I think for one of her sisters,
Mm.
and I was like I was on the veil, and it was like one of those things where I was like, "Oh, this could happen. This could happen." I watched that dang on series. I said, first of all, I can't sing like that, so I got a little note, but the role to a recurring guest
Yeah.
star role to a guest star role to a one liner, and when I wasn't even booking the one liners, I was like, I really wanted to book this, but I didn't
Mm.
book
Mm-hmm.
nothing.
Oh
But then
yeah.
I watched it and like was able to release all that because I was like, none of these roles were for me,
Right.
you
Right.
know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I kind of segued into that, but anyways, I say all that to say when what's for me will come, when what is for me when it comes, it won't miss me.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
in the
Yeah.
meantime, while I continue to work and while I continue to audition, I will also do what my other purpose is, which is coaching and empowering and inspiring other actors.
Okay.
Gotcha.
So I wanna go back since I want you to give us an education because we're not actors. Well, I think Greg got a baby acting career or something, right? That you got a kid actor over here.
Low key, yeah, man. I mean, you when you was just talking about everything, man, it took me back. So, and if listeners don't know, I actually used to work for PBS when I was a kid.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and I took acting all through high school. And it's always been a passion for me. So when I hear you talking, like I understand what it's like. You know what I mean? So yeah, I started on PBS, man, when I had these big thick glasses, and we did these television shows where I learned to speak German, and I was fluent in it for a while, actually. And so we would teach these other kids German, and we had the tapes. I'm about to show my age because these old tapes are at my parents' house, but they on VHS, and it's like a stack
No,
of
Cam is
10.
cracking up.
Yeah, it's like
I
it's
just
like a stack of
imagine
10 because
I've seen the
he knows
pictures. I've
like
seen the pictures.
he
Like
knows
you
the
gotta see these
glasses.
glasses, yo.
But
Like
but
Poindexter
yeah,
for
man.
real.
But yeah,
Yeah.
they
That's
pulled me out
awesome.
when I was like 8 years old, man, and had me working on these projects. So yeah, little baby acting stuff. So
Yeah. But where I was gonna go with that is I don't know all the lingo. So I hear some of these things sometimes, but I don't know all of it. I'm sure some of the listeners don't know either. So you talk about being a co-star, right? Or a guest star. And so can you break that down? What's the difference between like a guest star and a co-star? And what's a showrunner? Kind of give us some of these terminology. What break that down for
Absolutely.
us.
I would love to. So, the term co-star, back, I want to say back, I want to use the term back in the day, was referred to as an under five, which meant when it first started out, it was 5 lines and under.
Okay.
So
okay,
that's the person. If this show, if this show is you two, like you're the main characters, and I literally come in, you guys are at a coffee shop, and I come in and I say, "Here's your latte," and I walk away. That's under five. But
Okay.
the industry has kind of shifted, and so now a co-star role doesn't have to be 5 lines or under. It's typically a character that is only in one episode, and they're typically in one scene. Now,
Okay.
the industry's been doing this thing where they put you in multiple scenes and they pay you as a co-star. That's just because the production is trying to save money, but that's a whole nother
Mm,
story. But technically, so let's say this is you guys' show. Every episode you're on here and it's about y'all, and then there are other people that come, right?
yeah.
So
right,
let's say you guys are on here every episode. You're what's called the series regulars, right? So you're
okay,
regularly on every episode. You guys are making the big bucks. This is your show. The people who, when they hear the show, they think about you two.
Yeah.
Let's
right,
say that I am your sister, right? So I'm not on every episode, but you frequently see me, right? So when we think
right,
Mm,
about Martin, when we think
right,
about Martin, you think about, of course, Martin and Gina,
mm,
Tommy, Pam, and Cole. They're all like series regulars, right?
yeah.
right.
Then when you think about, even though Martin's playing multiple people, but Shanae, she's not a series regular. She comes on, she's on, some episodes. So she's a
Right.
recurring
Right.
guest star, right?
Right.
Okay.
She's,
Yep.
we
Right.
know who she is. She's a main character. But let's say we're Martin's at the DMV, and it's a person that he's sitting next to, and she's just in this one episode, and she maybe says, "Get out my way, like you're rubbing up against my arm." She's typically going to be a co-star. So you
Okay.
typically start off with your
Got you.
co-stars in one episode. Their purpose is to just move the storyline along, whether it's like, here's your tea, or if it's a nurse that comes out and say, "I'm sorry, she didn't make it," they walk off, that's it. That's your
Mm,
co-star, right? Then you go up to guest star. So I like to use the Law and Order when it comes to like guest stars. So when you think about Law and Order, every episode there's some crime that they're trying to solve, right?
yep.
So a
Right.
guest
Right.
star character is typically still in one episode, but they're throughout the episode.
Right.
So let's say
Okay.
it's Law and Order, and um, this nerdy kid, he hacked into his college's system and gave all his friends free financial aid. But the lead characters are trying to figure out who did this, and they interview him a couple of times, and then at the end,
Right.
they're like, "It was you. We knew it was you the whole time." So we've
Mm,
seen him throughout the episode, and
Hmm.
the episode's kind of about him, but then we never see him again after that. So that's your
Oh.
guest
Okay.
star.
Okay.
So we go
gotcha.
from co-star, who's just in typically one scene, they're just to push the story forward. Then we have a guest star character who you're only going to see them in this one episode, just kind of like me in Queen Sugar, right? So I was Blue's therapist, and we had this scene and da 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 da, but I never came
Right.
back. That was a
Yeah.
guest star. And then you have recurring guest star. So a recurring guest star would be like that Shanae character who she recurs. So she
Right.
comes
Right.
back every so often, but she's not a lead character because this show is about you two. So
Right.
you got
Gotcha.
co-star, guest star, recurring guest star, and then your series regulars, and that's the main characters of the show. That's who the show is about.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Break that
Okay.
on down.
That
Then. All
that
right.
was a great education on that. I appreciate that.
Facts.
So like you know, I hear also like lead and what is it? I don't know all the terms, but I know like sometimes there's like I guess a different terminology for movies outside of television, right? So how what are those? Can you break that down? Like what are your roles when you see people in movies and things like that?
Yeah, so typically for movies, it's more of like you said, the leading role or supporting. Supporting is
Supporting, yeah.
more of, of course, the lead. We know what the lead role is. The lead is the main
Yeah.
character,
It's your
and
Denzel
then
Washington.
supporting characters are kind of like those actors who they're not the lead, but they're still a big chunk of the movie. The
Right, yeah.
movies may not be about them, but they're still heavily important.
Yeah.
Um, and then typically in movies they say day player, which those roles mean that you kind of work one day.
Mm,
Okay.
So it's kind of the same as like the co-star guest star series
right.
regular, but then it's just like you got your day players, your supporting characters, and then your lead characters. So
Okay.
that it's a little it's not as um I think it's a little different when it comes to film. Most of my experience is in TV,
Yeah.
so I don't have I mean, I know I feel like everybody's a supporting character in a film if they're not a lead.
Right, yeah.
Somebody
Yeah.
may say that I'm wrong with that, but that's kind of how I feel.
Now, do you prefer TV? Are you trying to get into movies, or you think TV is your sweet spot? Is where you're trying to stay at?
Uh, I think I think there's something about my audition style that works for TV. I'd
Okay.
love to do
Okay.
like bigger budget films. I have auditioned for them, but a lot of the film roles that I audition for, they typically the roles go to celebrities or household
Hmm.
names.
Right.
So and for TV too, a lot of where I am now in my career, a lot of the roles that I audition for go to celebrities or Instagram influencers or
Mm,
reality stars. That's just kind of like, I guess, the level that I'm on now. So
gotcha.
we'll see what
Well,
happens.
yeah. Well, that's a good level to be on. Well, what I notice is, like sometimes I'm watching TV, you'll see, especially if you're watching like older episodes or something. For instance, like um over quarantine, I started watching Grey's Anatomy. I said I would never watch Grey's Anatomy, right? Because everybody's like, "Oh, it's such a good show, such a good show," and I was like, I don't care. Like, it don't look interesting to me, whatever, right? So anyway, I started watching Grey's Anatomy, and it's like the best show ever. But
Mhm.
what I realized, like watching Grey's Anatomy, some of those old episodes, you see people like people being co-stars and they're like big actors now. You know what I mean? Like they have like their own TV shows and stuff like that. And they were just like co-stars or like guest stars, probably be a better term, right? So they were like guest stars in this one episode where they were like kind of in throughout the episode and you never see them again. And they're
Mhm.
like big time actors. They got their own, leading roles in shows and movies and stuff like that. So I found that kind of interesting to see that dynamic. When you see these cats from, these early episodes of Grays, and then they're like in main roles in other shows.
Absolutely.
So
They say it takes 10 years to become an overnight success.
yeah,
So a lot of the actors that, especially for black actors, a lot of them that you see now that are in the kind of the older ones. It's different now, like the newer generation things are a little different, but you know, you go back and watch an old episode of Grey's Anatomy or an old episode of Law and Order and you're like, "Oh my
right.
god, that's Kerry Washington." She was,
Yeah,
so yeah, that was because previously before like Instagram and social media and stuff, there was more. I personally feel this is my personal opinion that there was more of a hierarchy. Like you kind of had to go get your co-stars and you get your guest stars. You kind of move up the ranks.
yep,
Now things are
Right.
different because of social media and because it's just different.
yeah,
Um,
Right. Right.
but yeah, you will definitely see someone's progress. Um, all the work that they've done over the years. Like it's like nobody you didn't know who they were, but they were a working actor. And then they
hmm,
got to the point where now they're a household name.
right, right.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Yeah, yeah. Man, that's dope. So interesting. So now, you got a pretty extensive resume. And I know you said like this last role is Cherry Grigio. You said that was your favorite role that you've done so far?
Yes, Cherry Grigio was my favorite role because I had a woman director. So I played a stripper,
Hmm.
um, and that was a whole thing. Like I never would have guessed that. I just never would have guessed that that would have happened. Like,
Did you audition for that role, or was it did you audition for something else and
oh
got
yeah,
that role?
nope. Well, I auditioned for two. I auditioned for Cherry, and then I auditioned for her sister, who comes in at the end of the episode. I auditioned for both of those roles.
Okay,
But in the
okay.
audition, like I'm in my living room and I got on a bathing suit, like it was fine. But then, I
Mm.
get to set and it's like I got on pasties. It just was a whole other experience that I wasn't exactly ready for. But I'm so happy because the crew, the director, everybody was just so nice and phenomenal. And I've been on some sets where people haven't been very nice. So it
Mm,
was a great set to be on. The writer was amazing. I mean, everybody was just so amazing. I felt heard. I felt respected. I didn't feel
that's
rushed.
good.
Yeah.
I didn't feel pressured into anything. It was very much like these are all the options. We like this. What do you feel comfortable in? At
Mm,
one point, I said I felt comfortable in something, and then got on set and was like, actually, I don't feel comfortable, and it was totally fine. Nobody was
that's
upset.
good.
Like it was an amazing TV experience. It's one of those things where I've experienced a lot. I've been on a lot of TV shows and a lot
Yeah.
of them as co-stars, and unfortunately, in those smaller roles, sometimes you can be disregarded or kind of forgotten, um,
Right.
especially as a black woman. Even when it comes to hair, um,
Yeah.
so many things we go through that people don't know. Like they see you on an episode of something and they don't know maybe how you were treated on set. um but it's all for the greater good, and it's all to like continue to just to level up. But yes, Cherry Grigio to this day was my favorite character to play.
Okay.
That's
I,
dope.
I'm gonna have to go in and check out some of the episodes. I saw a clip and it was hilarious. Yeah, like your
Yeah.
clip. I think it's your main clip on your IMDb of
Oh
Cherry
yes,
Crew.
yes. Cherry Grigio is episode 5, so she's
Okay.
only in one episode of Teenage Bounty Hunters, which is
Okay.
another reason why I had no idea that they were thinking about bringing
Bring
her
her
back.
back. Yeah.
So that was a bittersweet moment. But yeah, definitely,
Ah, that's so
definitely check
cool.
out check out episode 5 of Teenage Bounty Hunters. Check
Yeah.
it out.
Yeah.
Let me
I
know what you think.
I have to say, I mean, I saw a scene from that episode, and you and Kadeem was in the car, man, and you can just like literally see chemistry on the screen instantly. And like it just when you're talking about why they were going to go ahead and make that character his love interest, like you can just see the instant chemistry that both of you guys had. Y'all was
Yeah.
just like cool with each other. Like you felt that instantly. That scene wasn't that long, but like you could just tell it was there. And I was like, yo, this is dope. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So I'm glad that you got to work with him, and I'm sure he was able to give you gems and stuff that's helping you with screenwriting and filmmaking and stuff like that. So just
Yes.
props to that, because I was like, oh, okay, you know what I'm saying? I,
Yeah, it was so fun. He's so great, man. Like
yeah,
he was really, really great. A pleasure to work with, and yeah, that chemistry was definitely there. Like, and it wasn't not even like a sexual chemistry, but it was just like a
right, right,
like person to person. Like
right,
Yeah.
right.
we had chemistry together, so
Right.
yeah, it would make sense that they would be like, all right, let's have these two together again. So, but
Yeah, you can just tell y'all work well
something else is
together.
gonna come.
Oh yeah.
Word
Yeah.
up.
Something else gonna come for sure.
Yeah.
That one's gonna
So
launch you. I feel it.
yeah, for sure. But aside from acting, and screenwriting and doing your filmmaking, we know you also are a dance teacher as well. And you have at Dance 101 Studios, is that right?
Yes.
So how has that been? And we know you love dancing and dancing as a passion. So how's that been being a dance teacher as well, and balancing that alongside being an actress right now? How's that balance going?
Yes. So dance is so interesting because when I talk to people that I went to high school with, a lot of them are surprised that I'm an actor. They're like, "Yeah, I just thought you would be a dancer."
Mm,
Um, but again, that I had and still to this day have a big insecurity when it comes to dancing because I'm not trained.
Yeah.
And that's it. As an actor, it's like I'm trained down to the ground, honey. Like come at me with whatever you want, but I can go toe to toe. But it's different, because it's like,
Right.
wow, I can't do this. I can't lift my leg, just different things when it comes to dancing. I'm like, ooh,
Yeah.
but it's just a passion of mine. It's
Yeah.
also, I feel like we have to have things that we love to do, that we can make money at, things that can like help keep us in shape, that can just help keep us happy.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
And
Facts.
dancing is one of those things where it's like, I wanted to be Sierra, on tour with Sierra, then doing like I
Mhm.
just, when I was in high school, I thought my life was over because I didn't make it in the Petey Pablo "How You Like It" Daddy video. Like I literally was like, I was on a step team, and like all these older girls that I looked up to, they were in the Petey Pablo video, and I was like, man, like that was my one opportunity. I missed it. So like
Dang.
dancing has always been like I always wanted to be somebody's backup dancer.
Mm.
It has never happened. But I found soca music, which is I just freaking love it. Soca makes me so happy. One of my best friends introduced me to soca music, and soca music originated in Trinidad and Tobago. It's now the music of the Caribbean. Each island has its
Okay.
own kind of version.
Yeah.
But anyways, so I teach This is Soca Saturday mornings at Dance 101, and it's just I always it's so interesting because during my time in New York, when I would like visualize, I would always say like I want my days to be filled with acting and dancing. That's it.
Mm.
That's it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't. I was working this job, I was doing all these other things, and
Right.
now that is what my days are. Whether I'm acting, whether I'm coaching another actor, or being able to teach, even though it's only 1 hour a week. It's Saturday mornings, but I still have to challenge myself. I have to come up with new. I challenge myself to come up with new dance routines
Okay.
every
Right.
week, to challenge me, to challenge my students, the women who take my class. So it helps me be well rounded because you've got to find life outside of acting.
Yeah.
Right.
Got
Right.
to live a full life and be a full human being outside of your career. It's
Yeah.
like yes,
That's
I'm an
it.
actor, but that I can do other things like and have other interests. So I think it's very helpful, especially for actors and other artists as well, is to like live full lives and be a full human being outside of this one thing.
Mm.
And not only that, I think that to your point, being in shape, so it's a health thing, but not just like physically, but mentally. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Being able to do something that you enjoy takes you away from your everyday, routine as far as what you do, as
Facts.
far as
Yeah.
being an actress and everything like that. It makes you feel good. You know what I mean? So if you can go do this, it allows your mind to be free for a
Yeah.
little bit, but at the same time, you're challenging yourself, you're challenging and getting out of your comfort zone a little bit because you're allowed to like say, okay, you know what, you can build this new choreography, like you can build this new dance for this new class coming up. And so I think in that realm it's very healthy, both physically and mentally.
Yeah.
So
Yes, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. You said it. You said
um
that it builds your confidence, right? Like you feel confident when
right.
you're dancing. So yeah, that's dope.
Yeah, and it's a weird conundrum because I'm there's a insecurity definitely that I have as a dancer because I'm the type of person that I like to check off boxes. Like I've got this certification, or I've got this
Hmm.
training, or I've got this, and I don't have that when it comes to dancing. Like I don't have it at all.
Yeah.
But there was one moment with me teaching, and it was definitely last year. And I had this woman, this older white woman. She came to my class, and at the end of my class, she came up to me and she started crying, and
Mm.
she said, "You don't know. I've been going through a lot
Hmm.
recently, and this class made my heart smile,
Mm.
and
Wow.
I needed this." So there's an
Wow.
energy that I'm able to just kind of like gift to people through dance.
Yeah.
Right.
So I thought that I was supposed to be dancing for Petey Pablo and Sierra, and that I thought that's what it was. But then
Right.
years later, it came out that same thing with coaching. Like it's really the
Yeah.
same thing with two different mediums. I'm able to be a vessel of
Yeah.
inspiration and motivation, and just even if it's just 1 hour of somebody's day. But I don't know what it is that they're going through. They could be caring for a sick parent, with COVID. Who knows what it is that they're going? But she came to my class and she felt like this was sent from God. That God made her come here and she was able to move her body and she was able to feel the energy of the music and have a good time. And that's when I said to myself, okay, once again, because I always thought
Ano-
it was about me. Like it's about
right.
I should be in somebody's video or doing this when it's like my purpose is to really just make someone feel a way.
I was just
Yeah.
gonna
And
say
that
that.
was a tough pill for me to swallow because I was
Right.
like, no, it's about me. Like I'm making. But it's like, okay, whenever you're ready, I'm here to tell you that it's not about you. And it's literally like you're the vessel.
Mm,
I feel like God is saying like I need to gift this person with this, and I'm using you to give it to them.
yeah.
So that I had
That's
to come to that realization. I was like, okay, I see what's going on. Heard you, God. Say less. Heard you.
it's another
Say
sign for
less.
sure, man. Just like you said, being a vessel, and just uh your purpose, just you're starting to fulfill it and just come into it, and it's coming naturally. I think that's the biggest thing that you're pointing out, that you're not having to force it, even though it may feel kind of uncomfortable. You're not really sure, like, wait, am I supposed to be like, God, you for real? Like, I'm supposed to be doing this? But it still is coming naturally, and you're able to just kind of be provide that. That's so dope, man. I also think that's a good segue to what one of my last questions for you, in regards to going to your link tree, right? And I saw that you have raising awareness for Haitian families, for clean water. Can you talk about some of that, and some of
Yeah.
your philanthropy projects that you're working on?
Yes. So thank you so much for bringing that up. My father is from Haiti. He was
Okay.
born in Haiti,
Okay.
and I believe he left Haiti when he was around 10 years old. So
Okay.
I'm half Haitian. That is, part of who I am.
Hmm.
And that particular fundraiser is from my cousin Michael Maurice. First of all, I grew up not knowing that I had a Haitian side of the family. Like, I also grew up not even realizing that I was Haitian. That's a whole nother podcast for a whole nother story. But anyways, that's a good thing about moving to New York is I was able to kind of learn like, oh, there's a whole nother part of me that I never knew about and I never embraced. And then
Right.
I had a cousin and his last name was Maurice, and then we look alike, which was so cool to me. I was like, oh my god, this is great. Anyways, my
Wow.
cousin, he he's lived in Haiti multiple years. There's a lot of things happening right now in Haiti. I'm not I I'm not as in the not that I'm not in the know. I don't feel like I have the words
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
the knowledge to speak on it in a way that is beneficial and or helpful. But I will
Okay.
say that my cousin does have an initiative to he has land in Haiti. My family actually has land in Haiti as well.
Hmm.
Um,
Okay.
but just to help, I don't
Yeah.
know, just to help. So yeah, that's what that is, and I do. One of my goals in life is to help Haiti. Right now, I don't
Right.
know how to do that. I'll be completely honest. There's a lot happening,
Yeah.
inner turmoil within the country and the government, and so it's a lot happening. So I pray for Haiti every day, and I know that one day I will be able to help. I have visited,
Yeah.
I have been there, and it broke my heart the first time I went. Um, Ooh, yeah, it just I remember I went on a trip with this guy. His name is Richard. He has a company called Haitian Nomad, and I just really wanted to go to Haiti. My father was like, "What are you doing? Why are you going to Haiti? Absolutely not." But
Mm.
again, he's thinking as that 10-year-old child who prayed to God to get him out of
Yeah.
Haiti.
Get
Yeah.
out of there.
And
Hmm.
we also only see once we only see the like we don't see the good part. We don't see the beautiful. We don't see the good parts of Haiti. We just
Yeah.
see
Yeah.
like this war zone, which is so
Right.
unfortunate.
Yeah.
But I remember traveling from the airport to the hotel we were staying at. and we rolled by this. It was like a body of water, right? But
Hmm.
they didn't have a trash system in place, and so the trash was alongside the water.
Oh, dang.
Wow.
My mind was blown because I was like,
Right.
well, this is the same water that they're getting
Right.
fish out of.
Right.
Right.
I mean, literally, like, I was
Yeah.
in the back of the van, like, trying to be okay, but I wasn't. So yeah,
Mm,
that I one of my main goals in life is to bring some type of help. And even then, like, I was able to, like, of course, help an individual person, but
right.
Right.
I would definitely need to do more due diligence and research and yeah, Haiti.
Well, I think,
Yeah.
yeah, I think that just being able to have your website and that on your link tree. I mean, I saw it and I just think it's so dope to bring awareness. I mean, I think that you're
Yeah.
doing what you can right now. Just bringing awareness to such things such as that is being helpful. So, shout out to you for doing that. You know what I mean? Before we actually started recording, I'm gonna put you on blast real quick. You had a Haiti shirt on, you know what I'm saying? And I thought that was dope because, like I said, it brings awareness and just bringing awareness to certain things such as that and having it on your link tree. I'm gonna go and try to donate as soon as we get off of here. I just, I think that that's dope, and that's one step. You know what I mean? To building on that and being able to provide, more help in the future. So
Yes,
Yeah. Yeah.
thank
And
you. Yes,
speaking,
I got on my Haiti rock shirt. Right now, I got on my book shirt. It's my co-star coaching book because that's the goal is to be able to book. So
word, I was just about to ask you about that. All right, so you explain that. That's what's up. So, one thing we always like to do on the City of Savages podcast is give our guests their flowers. You often hear about people getting their flowers when they're gone, but we like to give you your flowers while you're still here.
big
So,
facts.
you know, we just wanna show you that appreciation, show you that love, and salute you, give you your flowers while you're here for all the things that you've been doing, the hustle that you show, the charisma that you show, the energy that you put out. I think that's one of the biggest things because every time I've seen you, there's always like this energy around you, like you can literally see it. Like there's some
Facts.
people like you can see the energy around them, and like you always got that. So I just want to let you know that we appreciate that, and we see the great things that you're doing, and I know that everybody around you appreciates that energy and that charisma that you put out.
Yep.
Because if I if I was in Atlanta and I was having a bad day, I know I could come to you and you gonna make my day better just because of that energy. For real.
Facts.
And
No,
that's
and
no lie. It's been you've been that way since CSU. You know what
yeah,
I'm saying? So since we was
facts.
in college, you always had that energy around you. So definitely want to show you that appreciation. Let you know, like, hey, keep doing what you do. It's dope.
Yeah, and piggybacking on that, I'm not gonna make it long. I just remember before we saw you in Atlanta, I remember actually seeing you at a friend's wedding. I was with my missus, and it was just a reminder of your energy. It had been years, or it had been a while. I don't know if it was years, but it felt like years that since we saw you, or since I saw you, and I was just like, man, every time I see Chantal, man, her energy is just like through the roof, and it makes people feel good. You know what I'm saying? Like, but but to like it's not over the top. It's just enough it's to bring you
Right.
up. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah, yeah.
get you to a certain level where you feel good. Like it's so much negativity going on in the world right now. To be around people that can bring you up is amazing. So
Yeah.
just keep doing you. 'Cause, I mean, you can just tell it's you being you, genuine. And so just keep being you. Like
Absolutely.
that's it.
oh man, guys, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
That means a lot. I appreciate that. Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah, for sure, for sure. Now, before we go, we got our last segment. We like to do with all of our guests. We call it our Fab Five. So these are gonna be five fun questions that we like to ask our guests. It's kind of like a lightning round. So we're gonna start it off. I'll let Greg start it off. Quick question number one.
All right. So number one, favorite actor or actress. It doesn't have it can be male or female. Favorite actor or actress.
I'm gonna say James Earl Jones.
Mm,
Okay.
Love him
okay.
so much.
All right.
I'm really shocked by that.
Yeah. Me
And
too.
it's not to say that
Not, yeah, no
it's
shade
not to
on
say
him, but
he's not good.
just didn't.
But
I just love James Earl Jones. Like
yeah.
What is it? What
I
is it
have
about him?
others, but you wanted it like lightning, so that's the first
Yeah,
thing that comes off when I think of that.
He's a legend in his own
legend.
right, though. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
um,
I. Question number two: what is your favorite travel destination?
Ooh. I would say Haiti. I'm gonna say Haiti, but I'm gonna say a place that I want to go that I have not been, and that is Grenada.
Okay,
okay, okay.
got you. Word.
All right. Question number three. What is your favorite book or some other type of content that has left a lasting impression on you?
Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
Classic.
That was, yeah.
Classic, yeah. That's a
Yep.
good one.
That's a good one, though.
Yeah, that's one of those books. I have a mentor, and he tell me, that's a book that he reads like every year. He reads it every single year. Once a year, he read that book because all of the gems in it, and just like to kind of reset his mindset. You know.
Yeah, that and the Four Agreements. My Think and Grow Rich, the cover is like falling off, the pages are all over the place. But yeah, I love that book. That book and the Four Agreements.
Yeah, I
So
love the Four Agreements too.
I have a confession. I am just now reading the Four Agreements for the first time. The Mrs. gave it to me like she just read it not too long ago. So, but I hear a friend that says they read it every year. So,
Yeah,
but
it's a classic.
I'm just about done with it, and I'm like, why haven't I read this already? So
Yeah,
it's gonna be one of those things where I'm gonna read it every year, just about.
yeah, it's
So
a good
Well,
book.
I
That's
thought I was gonna read it every year, but then I found it on YouTube, so I've read it and now I just listen
yeah.
to it.
Oh, okay.
the audiobook, gotcha,
Yeah.
gotcha.
Yeah, that's smart. Excuse me. Question number 4. What was the last song you danced to?
So I don't know if this counts, but earlier today, one of my clients had an audition, and in his audition, he had to sing some lyrics to "All I do is think of you." So
Oh
as I
yeah.
was like across from him, I was like dancing to
Yeah.
that. So I think that that will probably count, but that's because
Yeah.
that was yeah.
Word. That definitely
Okay.
counts.
And he didn't know the song. Like he didn't know the song. So he came in. Well, I can't. He didn't know the song. So I was like, wait, this is a real song. Like, let me play it for you. And he was like, this is a real song. And I'm like, yes. I'm like, you can't make the tune up. This song
Right.
exists. Like, I
Wait, so
can
he was just making the song up? What?
easily stay and wait for you. So yeah, I had to like, I was like, no, we gotta let's listen to this song. I have to teach you this
That's
song.
that's
All
funny.
right. All
I
right.
think
And
this is the part of the round, but I had to teach another client some Trey songs because he was like really young, and so I don't realize how like younger people when they
Mm.
think Trey songs, they think of
oh,
old
okay.
school. So the audition material had him say something like, "We're listening to Trey songs." He was like, "Yeah, I don't know any Trey songs," and I was like, "What?" I was like, "Well, wait,
Wow.
What?
I'm gonna teach you Trey songs." So
You got
Is
listen,
it that
anybody that wasn't like at least about 18 in 2009, they don't know. Cause like
yeah,
2009, it was probably what 2000, I would say even about 2007 to about
yeah,
2012. Like
2012, that's
Trey
what it
was
was.
like
Yeah.
the guy, you know what I mean? But after
But
that,
that just made me think he hadn't really dropped that much music. And I was like, man, really? Because I
yeah,
was like,
he been low key lately.
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
This boy did
He,
that's
not know
crazy
these
though.
songs. I was like singing. He was like, "Wow, you know so many of these songs," and I was like, "Yeah."
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of shocking to me, but okay.
yeah.
That's funny. All right, so last question. Tell us something random about you, maybe most people wouldn't know.
Hmm. Something random about me. So I always said that Chris Brown stole one of my dances. That was like a
Which
thing.
one-
So here's
I
so
gotta
here's the
know
thing.
which dance is
I
this?
really thought that Chris Brown stole my dance. I think I was like 16. I was in high school. Me and my friend Dominique, her name is Dominique Reddy. I'm never gonna forget this. We were on this step team called Columbia's Finest in Columbia, South Carolina,
Mm.
and I made up this dance to Chris when Chris Brown first came out. Is your man on the floor? If he
Yeah,
ain't right. So we did this
yeah,
step
yeah.
show where Chris Brown was performing. I think it was at like LR High School or some place like that in Columbia.
Laura Richland, shout out Laura Richland.
And Chris Brown was there. And I remember, like, the only memory I have is afterwards being like, we gotta go show Chris Brown the dance. We gotta show him our dance to his song. So
Yeah,
he performed, we stepped. Afterwards, we ran up to Chris Brown. We were like, Chris Brown, we gotta dance to your song. Can we show you the dance to your song? I literally remember, just like I just did, I sang the song as it's your man on the floor.
Right.
We like did the dance. I remember him
Right.
watching him. And then like a couple of weeks later, he was on Soul Train. And I
Uh-huh.
remember watching him be like, oh my God, come on, Chris Brown's on Soul Train. And he did this move. Now, mind you, maybe I just had like choreographer brain and it was just the movement went to the song. But I
Right.
had, let me see if you can run it, girl. Indeed, I
Yeah.
can run it.
Oh
And I'm
yeah,
watching
yeah.
and I'm like, oh, Mom, that's my dance. Chris Brown stole my dance. He stole my dance. So that's what was in my brain. So after that moment, I would always like when I went to college, they were like, say something about yourself, like two truths and a lie. And one of my truths would be, well, Chris Brown stole my choreography. And then I remember years later, I was like, let me actually go back and watch it again. It's been a long time, and I watched it, and I was like, that's not my. I mean, it was something in there, but when I watched it as a high school student, I literally thought Chris Brown stole my dance. Then when I went and
Hey
watched it like
man.
15 years later, I was like, no, he didn't. He didn't steal it.
Man,
So
that's
Maybe he
funny.
did. He just remixed it. You know what I'm
That's a
saying?
I think
I feel like
he
he took
definitely
bits
there
and
was
pieces
some of
and
the
remixed it.
same stuff in there. Like I
Like
like
yeah,
I'm just
yeah,
being real with you. I remember that video, and I'm like, as you did the move, I'm like, nah, bro. Like he probably bit something.
yeah.
Like
I'm just saying,
yeah,
I did go up to him and I said, "Let me show you our dance." And I did. We did the whole thing. We did, but it's cool. You know what I mean?
I wouldn't doubt it. That's all I'm saying. I wouldn't doubt it.
Hilarious, hilarious. So, bonus question: you said Columbia's Finest? That was the name of y'all step team,
Yes.
or is that what got you interested or like interested in Delta? What led you to that
Absolutely.
direction?
Yes. I didn't grow up with like any body in my family that had went to college or that had pledged. It literally was from Columbia's Finest Step Team. I learned how to step. Um, Shout out to Sharon Hanks in Columbia, South Carolina. That step team was amazing. Like there were so many talented people on there. Um, a lot of people went on to pledge and came back, and so a lot of our steps were like rooted in Greek stepping.
Yeah,
Um,
Yeah.
and that's where we did tributes to Greeks. We performed at USC for like the Coca-Cola, like we did like these huge performances, and that's when I was introduced to like sororities type things. We would do tributes, and like they would always say, okay, you're gonna go in the Delta tribute, and I was like, what is, like, I don't know what this is. So
yeah.
definitely Columbia's Finest, like that's where I learned how to step. That's where like I learned performance when it came to like stepping and dancing and choreographing and creating. So yeah, always pay homage. Columbia's Finest was where it's at. We had some talented people come out of that step team.
That was shout out to them.
Word,
Shout out to
word.
Columbia's Finest. Dope, dope.
Big
Yeah.
facts.
All
Hey
right.
man, this has been amazing. This has been so fun. Chantal, thank you so much, man.
Yeah,
For just all of the info and the knowledge and the gems you dropped about, your career and to up until this point and even giving lesson on acting, you know what I mean? I
right.
just, it's been real quick.
uh,
Chantal, can you
there we
tell
go.
you coming back. There you
All
go.
right.
Real quick though, can you talk about your shirt real quick and where we can purchase that before we
Yes.
go?
So this shirt is booked. It's for actors, but it's also for just like any creative or artist that wants to manifest a booking in existence or is celebrating a booking.
Okay.
So yes, I you can buy them on my personal Instagram page, which is chantalmaurice.com, or CoStar Coaching's website, which is www.costarcoaching.biz, which is
Okay.
biz,
Okay.
costarcoaching.biz. They are unisex shirts, so they're not fitted, like they run kind of big. But yeah.
Cool. Cool. Appreciate that, man. Thanks for dropping that. And when we drop the episode, we're gonna drop all of the handles, where we can reach you, your
Yeah.
website, the dance studio, everything. You know what I mean? So thank you for joining. Cam, you good, bro?
I got one one last thing. I don't know if I missed it when I beat that a little bit, but you gotta before you leave, you gotta drop
Yeah,
us.
yeah.
You
Make
gotta
sure you
you gotta
take
give
that.
us one final gem, something
Yeah.
that you want to leave us with that's going to help somebody and change their life.
Final gym. I consider this a gym. I don't know if other people will, but I feel like it's important. Whatever it is you're doing, whether it's like creative, tech, I don't care what it is, raising children, I think something that I like to remind myself of daily, multiple times a day, is to be grounded in gratitude. I think
Mm.
sometimes we can get so focused on what we don't have or
Yeah.
what we want to achieve, what we haven't achieved, that we don't actually take the time to look and to say like see how far we've come. I did this what's it called, this thing here in Georgia called shooting the hooch of the Chattahoochee River, and tubing, it's called tubing.
Okay. Yeah.
Strangest thing, but you just sit in a tube and like randomly float along with your friends, whatever.
Yeah.
But so in this tubing experience, me and my friends, we didn't know what to do. It was just something to do outdoors.
Mm.
And so we saw all these people buying like sticks and paddles and stuff, and we were like, well, we're just
Right.
gonna get a tube. We got like some hard seltzers. We're just gonna float in the tube on the hooch, shoot the hooch.
Yeah.
And we get in this tube and immediately realize that without any paddles and without any sticks, we can't control our direction, right?
Right.
We're
Okay.
freaking out. People are going past us. We're getting stuck in the bushes. I'm having to like kick my foot off of trying to push. Like, we literally can't control where we're going. And we
Mm.
were just, my roommate was like, we're not moving. Like, we're not moving.
Right.
We're not making progress. Everybody is going past us, and we're stuck here on this tree.
Mm.
Right.
And when I look back to see where we actually started from, I was like, we actually are moving. But when
Mm.
we got in this tube, we assumed that we were going to go this way. We didn't realize that the tube was literally going to go in a ditch over here
Right.
and get
Mm.
caught in tree branches.
Right.
Right.
Um, and that tubing experience was just so interesting because we kept feeling like we weren't moving. We kept feeling like we were encountering obstacles that we didn't have the tools to get around. And then there was
Mm.
Right.
these guys had this big tube. It was these two guys, and they had like these 3 or 4 kids inside. And my friend was like, "Hey, can y'all come just hook?" Like we had an extra hook, an extra rope, and these guys came over to us, roped us on, and like
Hmm.
literally because of them, we were like, whew, now we got some kind of direction. And it just goes to show
Right.
you that on this journey, God will send you people that you don't
Right.
expect, but
Mm.
they will come to help you and to help guide you. And every time we felt like,
Mm.
well, we're not moving, or these people are going past us, or we wanted to go this way, but our tube literally won't let us, it's like, okay, the tube and the water is God or whatever you believe in as a higher power. And it's like your journey is not going to be the same as everybody else's. You
Right.
know,
Right.
we weren't prepped
Right.
with the sticks. We weren't prepped because we didn't know where other people did, but we still made it to the end.
Yep.
And our
Mm.
journey, what we did was still fun. We met new people along the way. Like, so
Right.
that to me, it's always like be grounded in gratitude, but always take a look back to see exactly where you started from. Because you can think, I'm not making progress, nothing's working, like this isn't going forward or it's not blowing up. But then when you actually take a step back and look where you actually started from, be grounded in gratitude to be like, I am growing. Things are
Right.
changing, they are moving. It may not be what I expected, but everything will come in time.
Mm.
That's good. That's
That
really
was
good.
incredible. That was
Yeah.
a damn good gym.
Yeah.
Where, wait, Chantal, we definitely appreciate you. Appreciate your time. And to all the listeners out there, appreciate you listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode. We definitely did. So we'll see y'all next time. Tune in to the City of Savages podcast. Appreciate you. Peace.
Hey, bye.
We out.